just want to thank you all so much for coming here. We did this evening because it was one that was so important to my mother. This evening, the anniversary of Rachel Imeinu, which was actually on Shabbat last night, was so huge for her. So we said we have to do it. And my father really wanted one of us to do it because it was really her thing. So I appreciate you coming here. I want to just start by lighting a candle. The first one's going to be Le'iloi Nishmat Rahel Immenu, Aliyah Shalom. May this be an aliyah for a neshama. And the second one is going to be Le'iloi Nishmat Matriarch Matriarch Ruth Menashe. So this evening should be dedicated for them. I still remember the first time I ever went to Kever Rachel. I was a little girl, and my mother said to me, "We're going to Kever Rachel, we're going to Kever Rachel," and she was so excited the whole day. And I was so excited because she was so excited. And I was expecting this big, magnificent place. And as you can imagine, 25 years ago, it didn't look the way it does now. And we got there, and I was a little surprised, and I was taken aback, and I walk in, and everyone's just crying. And I was so confused, and I look up to my mother, and she's crying, filled with emotion, and I didn't understand what was happening. It was not what I was expecting. I was so excited the whole day. And with the years, as I matured and I learned and I heard from my mother's teachings, I finally understood why everyone was crying. And then I became one of those women who were standing there crying. And today, I want to start with saying why. What is it about her? And I was thinking that there are two character traits that she completely embodied that gave her that connection to us. That we are all so connected to her, that we go there, we're crying. We know that Rahel Immenu is referred to as the Akeret Habayit, from the word Ikar. She's the main basis, foundation of the home, of the Jewish home. She's given that title. And it's interesting because out of the 12 Shivatim that made up the Jewish people, she really only had 2. So why is she called the Akeret Habayit? And why are we so connected? Over 3,500 years later from her passing, we're so connected. There's a story of Rav Ruderman. He was the Rosh Yeshiva of the Yeshiva in Baltimore, near Israel. Big man. And he went with one of his students, Rav Ezra Neuberger, to Israel. And they got there and he said to him, "Rebbe, where do you want to go?" And he said, "I want to go to Kever Rachel." And he said, "Okay. You want to also go to Me'arat HaMachpelah?" And he said, "Maybe. I don't know." And he said, "You want to go to the Kotel?" He said, "I don't know. Maybe." And he said, "Rabbi, what's the meaning for this?" And he said, "The Ikar place for Tefillah today is Rahel Immenu's Kever. That's the number one most important place for prayer today." So the question is, why? What are these two characteristics that she embodied that gave her that enabled her to be that? So let's go back to her childhood. She was born in the house of Lavan HaArami, which is a Ramai, a deceitful, dishonest, tricky person. She lost her mother at a very young age. Her father didn't treat her well. She had to be out there with the sheep working all day, a work that's not befitting for a girl her age. And she had a very difficult life. Finally, she's told and she knows through Ruach HaKodesh she's going to marry Yaakov Avinu. She's excited. She wants it. She's happy. Not only that, she knows that the entire Jewish nation is going to come from her. She knows there will be 12 Shvatim, and that will be the existence and the everything of the Jewish people. And imagine the anticipation, the excitement of a life that's so hard, a life that's so difficult, and she can leave. She's finally finished. She's done. She's leaving her father's house. She's going to marry this person, and she knows through Ruach HaKodesh she's going to build the entire Jewish nation from her. And then she finds out that her father, once again, is going to trick them. The oldest daughter is going to get married first. So they say, "You know what? Yaakov Abinu and her decide we're going to outsmart my father. We have signs. And this way, we'll know that we're okay." But then, let's think about what happens. She gets to the wedding day. Imagine a bride on her wedding day. I know, I was recently a bride. So much excitement, so much going on. You're thinking of a million different things. My hair, my dress, the people, the food, the flowers, the this, the that. Oh my gosh, I'm getting married. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And it's a lot about you. But with her, it was different. She all of a sudden, she's in a situation where someone else will get hurt. Where her sister will be embarrassed. Will be awkward, will be mortified, whatever it is. And all of a sudden, it's not about her. Herself is not her own self. What she's thinking about and the thoughts that occupy her mind are not me. It's, one second, what does God want from me right now? I know I was told and I knew that I'm going to marry him and I'm supposed to marry him. I know that the Jewish generations are going to come out of the 12 tribes. But right now, I'm in a situation where my sister will be embarrassed and mortified, and God does not want that. So I can't choose to serve God how I want to. I have to serve God the way he's asking me to serve him now. And she could have had all the rationalizations in the world. I'm sorry that she's going to be ashamed. I'll try to make her feel better. But I can't. It's the future of the Jewish people. It's righteous what I'm doing. But why didn't she rationalize? Because she wasn't filled with self. She was truth. She was God. Thing is, she went against her nature and she did this. And because of that, that's number one character trait. She said, I will serve you, God, the way you want me to serve you, not the way I think I should serve you. And she went against her nature and she did what he wanted. But Avraham Avinu did it also. He was full of mercy. He was a merciful father. He also taught everybody about the Torah and about God. And he taught them the way you are living your life with idolatry is not the right way. They would sacrifice their children. He would say, that's not the right way. We follow the Torah. We follow God. That is the correct way. And then God says to him, now you sacrifice your son. And he doesn't say, that's against my nature. He doesn't say, but I've been proving to everyone that the Torah is different. He doesn't say, for you, God, I don't think I should. He also goes against his nature and does it. So where is the difference? Not to take away from what he did. The Ben Ish Chai brings down that there's a difference in sacrificing for God and sacrificing for others. Chaim Yosef Chaim Alav Shalom says, when you sacrifice for God, you feel holy. I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing it for you, God. But when you sacrifice for others as well, and you say, I'm doing this for you, it is harder. And that is what she did. Instead of being obsessed with herself and her wedding day and her excitement, she didn't see that. She didn't see her dress hanging in and her dream. She saw her sister. She saw the other. And she said, I can't. It's not going to happen. But this was not one righteous act. This is something she lived with. It brings down in Sefer Bereshith that Rahel Immenu's son, Reuven, went outside and he found dudaim. There are two explanations as to what dudaim are. They were either flowers or certain herbs that help with pregnancy. And Rachel Immenu finally goes to Leah and she says, please, can I please have some of your dudaim? And she says to her, what? It's not enough that you took my husband? Now you also want my dudaim? And the Mefarshim bring down from this that there's an opinion that Rachel Imeinu never told her, you know what, it's mine, but we're going to switch. Leah and Rachel never had this conversation. Rachel Imeinu decided she's giving up her life. Did she know that she would one day marry Yaakov Avinu also? She didn't know. Did she know I'm also going to have two Shevatim come from me? I'll also be a part? She didn't know. At that moment, she gave up everything. But she did it the real way.
So why did she die at the birth?
I wish I knew.
She sacrificed so much which no other woman could do.
Sometimes the best of us who sacrifice, God takes us away. I don't know. But she said, I am doing this, and she didn't do one righteous act. She lived with it. Meaning, there's an opinion, the Midrash says, that the three signs were the three mitzvot of the women. the candle lighting, the chala, and nida, tarat mishpacha. She only taught her about it. She said, there are these 3 things that you should do as a Jewish married woman. And then when Yaakov asked her, what are the 3 things, which were the signs, she just knew. So she just told him. But she didn't ever know, these are the signs because my father is going to trick us and now her whole life, she thought she's the real wife. And Rachel lived with that. And she never told her because she didn't just care about her anguish at that moment in public, but imagine living your life knowing my husband didn't really want to marry me. And she was willing to take that for her whole life. But it continues further. Where was she buried? On the way to Bethlehem. She wasn't buried in Ma'arat al-Machpelah. Why? Because Hashem says, one day I'm going to be exiling my children and there will be a place for them to stop on the way, to pray, to cry. And she will come out and cry for them. So again, even in her death, it's not about her. It's not about where do I want to be buried with my husband, with all the great avot and imahot. And it was al pi dibur, it says, that it was from God, meaning he knew that this was the right thing and this is what she would want. And in her death, she sacrificed because she wasn't thinking about herself. She was thinking about her children. She was thinking about others. And this is the second character trait. Not seeing ourselves, seeing others. And then it continues, and we know that the exile finally did happen. And Hashem is destroying the Beit HaMikdash, and he calls Yirmiyahu and Avi, summons him to come, and he says, wake up, Abraham Abinu, Yitzchak Abinu, and Yaakov Abinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu. Wake them up and have them come here before me to cry for the mercy of their children. And they do. And each one has a lot to show for themselves. And each one says, look what I did for you, God, have mercy on our children. But God cannot accept. Until Rachel Immenu comes, she was not called. She is not in heaven enjoying all her rewards for her hard life. She's not thinking about herself even after her death in heaven. She was not called to God. She came on her own and she said, I cannot be here relaxing and not worrying when this is what's happening to my children. I gave up everything and I wasn't jealous. I did it. You're jealous of your children who are serving idols and stars? Of that you're jealous? And it says, Kol berama nishma nehi bechit hamurim. There was bitter weeping that was heard. And Rachel mevakal baneha. She's crying on her children. The Mefarshim bring down 3 things. Who is baneha, our children? One was Yosef. When Yosef was sold by his brothers to Egypt, he stopped on the way at his mother's tomb and he cried, and she cried bitterly with him. The other one is Binyamin, that she cried bitterly that she would never be able to raise him and see in his happiness, and that he wouldn't have his mother. But number 3 is Al-Baneha, her children, us. All of us for all future generations. And you see that. That's really what she did. She could not deal with the fact that other people were going through hardships, and she was not called, and she said, I don't care, and she came here. And it was her that God answered. And Rav Mordechai Eliyahu says that throughout history, whenever Jews are going through pain and there are horrors in the world, she is the one who comes and cries bitter tears. And she is the one who saves us. And as we see, it is true. God says to her, Min'i kolech mi bechi, ki yesh sachar lefulatech. There will be reward. You can stop crying. But she doesn't. Me'ana lehinachem, she refuses to be comforted. And he says, Shavu me'eretz oyev, they will come back from their enemy's land. V'shavu banim legvulam, they will come back to their borders. The question is, if they're leaving their enemies, they're obviously coming to their borders. Why say it twice in a different way? They're saying she's thinking about her children the way a mother should, completely. Sometimes somebody's going through a hard time and we don't want to deal with them, we don't want to accept it. So we hear things are a little better and we're like, oh, they're fine, thank God. But with her, she says, it's not enough for me that they physically leave the enemy's land and come to Eretz Yisrael. V'shavu banim ligvula means they should come back to their way spiritually. I need both of those. Because she truly cares. And that is why it also says, Sha'arei dim'a lo nin'alu. The gates of tears are not locked. Dim'a is 119. Rachel is 238. For 2 tears that she cries, 2 cosmic tears of the Shekhinah that she cries throughout the generations, for God to have mercy on her children. And that is why we are so connected. She says, God, I will do it for you. And I'm completely interested in what's happening with you. It's not about me, not during my life, not when I'm being buried, and not ever afterwards. And that is really the answer. We say, what is it? Why is it her? Why are we so connected to her? She had a hard life. She finally did get to marry her husband, but she was always the second wife because Leah didn't know. She had a child. Like you said, during her second child, she died at age 36. Such a young woman, but so powerful. 3,500 years later, we're still connected. I was in Israel close to 10 years ago on her anniversary. Took a bus trying to go to her kever. We almost got there until we couldn't go because they closed the road because they said it's too many people. Everybody feels that connection. And that is why she's the Akeret Habayit. That is why her tefillot are heard in Galut. That's why Rav Ruderman said, I want to go to where she is. That's why when the Nazis were coming through Egypt and they were getting close to Israel, Chacham Yehuda Aftaya went to her kever. Out of everyone. And it wasn't safe. And he went and he cried. They say he cried so much that his tears filled a bowl. His tears filled a bowl, and all of a sudden he saw an image of her rising, and he said, come to our aid, we need you. Because she still is not resting. She's still holding on to that character trait which even separated her from all the other avot, that she not only sacrificed for God, but she always saw for the other person. And that is why she's that. That's why throughout the generations people are connected. Nava Applebaum, who was killed by the terrorists a night before her wedding. And they said, you know what, this wedding gown, we're going to give as a parochet. Where did they give it? Kever Rachel, the person who's up there crying and says, God, me'ana le'inachem, I cannot be comforted while this is happening. And I was thinking, you know what's amazing? Throughout the generations, it's been so hard to get to Kever Rachel. And now, it's really not. And they say, Sha'arei dim'a lo nin'alu. Dim'a, we said, is the 2 tears. It corresponds to Rachel. The Sha'arei of Rachel are not locked. Maybe God knows that we need that now. So we can get there. It's accessible. And they say that the Avot and the Imahot are our parents, and they gave us their spiritual genes as well. So what they have, we have. It's in our blood. And we should learn from her. This is what separated her to be the Akeret Habayit from everyone else. We have such righteous women in Jewish history. But why are we still all connected to her? It's because she was Ani. It says, Hillel says, Imani kan akol kan. And Rashi brings down, what is Ani? Ani is the Shekhinah. If I'm connected with God. Saying I'm connected with God, God, I do your will. And also, what does God want more than anything else? Than for us to treat his children as if they were ours. Kol Yisrael arabim ze lazeh. And we know that's when the Beit HaMikdash will be built, when we have Ahavat Chinam. And she really, really embodied this. And I was thinking to myself that if perhaps we can work on these 2 things, we can really go to her and cry, and God can say, you know what? They're not only crying to you, they're also learning from your character traits. They're serving me in the way that I'm asking them to serve me, not in the way that's convenient for them. They're seeing the other. They're focusing on the other. There was a big rabbi in Israel, and they would say he could read people. People would meet with him, and he would know everything and read him. Someone asked him, how do you do it? You know what he said? I listen. If you would focus, you could also do it. We're not focused, but if maybe we are and we try harder to serve God the way He wants and to really go above and beyond and see the other, even in the time that we're wrapped up in ourselves because of difficulties or because of excitement, and see the other, maybe the Sara Rachel also lo ninalu, and now she will be answered. And I was thinking about all this, and I said, you know what? I started off by saying to you, I was a little kid in Israel, standing in Kever Achir, and I couldn't understand what was going on. I was so excited to go, and I didn't understand where I ended up coming. And then I understood, because of time and maturity over the years and hearing my mom's teaching. And as I was preparing for this class, I said, I stand here before you today, and I realize, wow, I have a deeper understanding as to why this was so important for my mother, why she felt so connected. Because of those of you who know her, I'm sure you would agree with me that I don't know somebody who embodied and lived these two character traits more than she did. And now I understand the connection. Thank you. I do also just want to share with you how I saw the connection, just to give you an example, and I can open up the floor if anyone else would like to share as well. Through my mother's illness, I really saw how she said we have to serve God the way He wants us to serve Him. For example, she couldn't eat bread anymore, and it was hard for her, because she didn't care about the bread. It bothered her that she wasn't saying Birkat HaMazon. It bothered her. And we would say it Friday nights, and she would point to every word and have all the kavanah without saying the words, and she would cry. And just another example of how she would really see the other person. As a kid, I would feel like that she would be talking to someone, and from behind, I'm trying to whisper something to her. She didn't see me. When she was talking to somebody, she was talking to them. That is what mattered, and she cared just so much. And even throughout her illness, I would say, Ima, we'll do this for your Fashirama, and she would say, and for everybody else. And she would give me the list of names. So I think we should learn from the amazing people we have. We have many people, many people within us who do have these character traits, and if we can try to develop it more, we should, B'ezrat Hashem, get closer and live the life that we're supposed to. Thank you.